A pleasant good evening from outside the nation's capital, Monrovia, along the Japan Freeway. Today is July 21, 2025. Welcome to the Fuka News Summary presentation. My name is Mohammed Kane. A quick look at the top stories we've been following this evening. Office of Office of War and Economic Crimes Court launches outreach campaign for public confidence in Liberia's transitional justice process. House Speaker Roger Combs meets with President of the National Assembly of Cote d'Ivoire, Adama B. Togo, at high-level MRU parliamentary engagement in Monrovia. Liberian clergyman calls for reconciliation ahead of the country's 178th Independence Day celebration, and away from whom at least 19 dead after Air Force jet crashes in Bangladeshi school. We'll go for this break and then we come back. We'll bring you the news in continuity. The Office of the Establishment of the War and Economic Crimes Court has officially launched a national outreach campaign to build public understanding and engagement around Liberia's transitional justice process. The campaign, Honor the Team Justice for All, was launched at a well attended ceremony held at the compound of the War and Economic Crimes Court and was rolled out in collaboration with civil society and transitional justice actors. Speaking at the ceremony, the executive director of the Office for the Establishment of War and Economic Crimes Court, Councillor Jala Babud, disclosed that campaign extended to all 15 counties in diaspora in the coming months. According to Councillor Babu, the national outreach campaign is a Liberian-driven process, and robust consultations will ensure that every corner in Liberia is touched. Also speaking, the country director of the Office of the UN High Commission for Human Rights, Christian Mukosa, reaffirmed the UN's fullest cooperation in the establishment of the court in Liberia. Mukosa pointed out the journey leading to the establishment of the court may take time, but the launching of the national outreach campaign is timely. The ceremony was graced by many people from the government, the diplomatic corps, civil society organizations, religious leaders, youth, and women's group, among many others. House Speaker Richard Nangwe Kun has met with the President of the National Assembly of Cote d'Ivoire, Adama Bitogo, who is leading high-level parliamentary engagements. Their arrival marked a deepened regional cooperation through the newly proposed Mano River Union Parliament. Speaking upon the arrival of the delegates, Speaker Kun emphasized the significance of establishing a parliamentary union, describing it as a monumental step towards fostering legislative collaboration among member states. He lauded the collective vision and commitment demonstrated by all participating delegations, asserting that the initiative reflects a shared decision for the unity and peace across the sub-region. Speaker Kun added that previous diplomatic engagements have fostered Liberia's dedication to building stronger inter-parliamentary ties and championing leadership that reflects the diversity of the MRU countries. Also speaking, Adama Bitogo expressed heartfelt gratitude to Speaker Kun and members of the Liberian House of Representatives for their warm hospitality and visionary leadership. He expressed his apologies on behalf of his delegation for missing the previous day's event due to unforeseen travel disruptions, including a last-minute flight cancellation by Brussels Airlines. President Bitogo underscored the deep historical, cultural, and geographical bonds shared among MRU countries, while reaffirming his delegation's full support to the meeting and pending activities. Prominent Liberian clergyman Bishop James Seeley of the Cathedral Episcopal Church in Monrovia is calling on the government to reflect on Liberia's 178th Independence Day in the spirit of fostering national reconciliation. In a sermon delivered on Sunday, Bishop Seeley described national reconciliation as a crucial cornerstone for government and marginalized communities. He warned that neglecting this group could lead to significant unrest, plunging the country into chaos. The Cathedral Episcopal Church preacher also called on the legislature to support the enactment of laws for national development plans. Bishop City added that legislation is paramount to fostering national progress. President Joseph Nima Boyka has dedicated two newly constructed secondary schools in Bonk and Nima counties, bolstering government efforts to provide educational access. The initiative underscores the government's progressive commitment to widening access to quality education across Liberia. According to a release, the project is being financed by the World Bank program, seeking to strengthen secondary education infrastructure in rural and hard-to-reach areas. The release added that the facilities will contain furnished classrooms, science and computer laboratories, administrative offices, as well as recreation spaces. The new schools are expected to reduce the pressure on existing institutions and build a more inclusive and equitable educational environment for girls' participation. Providing the project overview, Education Minister Dr. Jasu Jala described the project as a milestone which reflects the ministry's commitment to advancing Liberia's educational system. New Georgia Township Commissioner Patient Bender has canceled the results of the town center community election. Commissioner Bender cited widespread irregularities that undermined the election's credibility. The decision followed an internal probe into several complaints alleging serious procedural irregularities during the election. Further findings from the investigation revealed that Election Commissioner Robert Sa announced results unilaterally, despite a warning from the Electoral Grievance and Ethics Committee. Meanwhile, uncertainty continues to surround how and when a new electoral process will occur, especially since Commissioner Sa remains in his post as head of the commission. Finance and Development Planning Minister Augustine Gafuan has dismissed allegations of corruption. Minister Gafuan clarified cases linking him to corruption practices, including recent allegations made by his immediate predecessor. The finance minister said he inherited the COVID-19 funds reallocation plan from his predecessor. In an interview recently, in an interview recently, Minister Gafuan clarified that US 234,000 directed to the home grown school feeding program came from a decision made by the previous administration under Minister Samuel Toy. Minister Gafuan also said the COVID steering committee chaired by Professor Wilson Tappert and including Toy agreed that the left out IMF support food relief funds will support school feeding efforts. He emphasized the funds were never misused, noting they were currently held in the consolidated fund at the central bank, fully auditable and aligned with government procedures. He then reaffirmed his commitment to transparency and national priorities, calling on the World Food Programme to clarify its involvement and urging critics to stop politicizing legitimate development programs. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs has launched regional passport application centers in Bonk and Grand Chida counties as part of Liberia's decentralization drive. Foreign Minister Sarah Beslo-Yanti led the initiative to expand passport services beyond Monrovia. The centers are fully equipped and potentially bringing passport access closer to citizens in remote and historical underdeveloped areas of the country. Minister Beslo-Yanti described the effort as a major step towards inclusive governance, equity, and improved public service delivery under President Joseph Nima Boyka's administration. The new centers mark a national shift in how government services are delivered, reflecting on ongoing reforms to strengthen citizens' access and institutional accountability. Montserrado County Representative Dixon Wulewisibu has stirred public attention after being seen on video tangling his eyes during a national prayer service. The incident occurred during the ongoing intercessory prayer service at the Trinity Cathedral on Broad Street, an event attended by President Joseph Nima Boyka as part of Liberia's 178th independence celebrations. Sibo's unusual demeanor has sparked mixed reactions, with some citizens describing his actions as strange and inappropriate for such a solemn moment of national thanksgiving. Already in the public spotlight, the lawmaker's behavior has raised fresh questions about motive and intent, especially as the video continues to circulate across social media platforms. Representative Sibo is among those indicated in the December 24 Capitol building arson case, alongside former House Speaker Jay Funantico for aiding yet another layer of scrutiny to his embattled image. Bombing County Development Officer is encouraging students to remain studious to make progress in their academic journey. Alfred Zena says students should always pay attention to their lessons by studying and reading materials that are important to their studies. Zena spoke at the program marking the graduation and closing program of the Coffee Farm Public School held in Coffee Farm, Darwin District, Bowman County during the weekend. Remarking during the program, the principal of the Coffee Farm Public School, Joseph Kennan, described what he termed as bad treatment to teachers in the country over the years by successive governments. At the end of the program, 9 students were awarded certificates for completing the requirements of school and those of the Ministry of Education. The newly elected leadership of the Liberia Medical and Dental Service has unveiled a plan to launch a digital transformation strategy that will include a centralized digital lesson system in 16 months. The council's chairman, Dr. Arson Cassiel, disclosed that his administration will endeavor to introduce an integrated platform to monitor health facilities nationwide. Dr. Cassiel disclosed the program marking the induction of the newly elected leadership of the Liberia Medical Dental Council held at the compound of the GFK in Monrovia during the weekend. Others in others induced were Dr. Others include were Dr. Theophilus Fire, co-chairman, Dr. Catherine Cooper, member, Dr. Emmanuel Tamba, member, among others. And away from home, at least 19 dead after Air Force crashes in Bangladeshi school. At least 19 people have died and 164 were injured after a Bangladeshi Air Force training jet crashed into a school campus in the capital, Dhaka. Footage from Marston School and College in the northern suburb of Ottawa shows a huge fire and thick smoke after the aircraft slammed into a two-story building. And with that, being said, this is how we're going to conclude this presentation. But before we take a leave, a relook of the top stories. Office of the War and Economic Crimes Court. Office of the War and Economic Crimes Court launches outreach campaign for public confidence in Liberia's transformational justice process. House Speaker Richard Nangbe Koum meets with President of the National Assembly of Cote d'Ivoire Adama Bitogo as at high-level MRU parliamentary engagement in Monrovia. Liberian clergymen calls for reconciliation ahead of the country's 178th Independence Day celebration and away from home. At least 19 dead. Air Force jet crashes into Bangladeshi school. And this is how we like to come to the end of the Foca News Summer presentation. On behalf of the News School, my name is Mohammed Kane. And many thanks to Piano, who sat at control and able to conduct all of the sounds. Good evening. Thank you for watching.